Talk about a Friday news dump. You got a barrage of bad news for the Biden family coming on three fronts today. First is the stunning twist of a Hunter sweetheart deal heard around the world. You got Attorney General Merrick Garland appointing federal prosecutor and Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss as special counsel in the probe of President Biden's son, Hunter.
Upon considering his request, as well as the extraordinary circumstances relating to this matter, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint him as special counsel. This appointment confirms my commitment to provide Mr. Weiss all the resources he requests. It also reaffirms that Mr. Weiss has the authority he needs to conduct a thorough investigation and to continue to take the steps he deems appropriate independently, based only on the facts and the law.
All right, let's try to break this down. Keep this in mind. David Weiss is the same prosecutor who cooked up the original sweetheart deal that Hunter kind of blew up. You know, a judge kind of blew it up. As we take a closer look and they realize it's ridiculous and it doesn't involve any of his foreign business dealings, so his lawyers decided they didn't want the deal. And now we are learning that federal prosecutors expect Hunter's tax and gun trial to go to trial after a new plea deal completely unravels. So, as for the big guy's involvement in the new Hunter special counsel, the DOJ is declining to comment on whether President Biden himself is under investigation. So for now, we're just going to have to take Joe at his word that he never talked shop with Hunter.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses.
I'm confident.
Never talk business with anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Republicans ripping into the decision to appoint Weiss as special counsel. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy warning it better not, quote, obstruct congressional investigations into potential Biden family corruption. And other lawmakers agree.
This was a political decision, not a legal decision. They're trying to put out a fire, and they just poured gasoline on it. Nobody in their right mind believes that making him a special counsel, Mr. Weiss, cleans up the mess that's been created.
It's about time. On the other hand, I have some question about Weiss doing it.
This is an attempt to whitewash the Biden family corruption. I am very fearful that appointing the special counsel is just an attempt to stonewall Congress's investigation of the Biden family.
And finally, Team Biden is said to be in talks with his classified doc special counsel to have Joe be personally interviewed, which you may remember involves the president leaving our nation's secrets stashed in the garage next to his Corvette, amongst other places. Judge, your reaction to the presser that brought us to this place to have a special prosecutor be the same David Weiss as the guy that's looked into this for years?
You know, it's kind of hard to convey my feelings because I am furious. Number one, stop laughing, Lawrence. Number one, okay, this guy Weiss is compromised. He is untruthful. He is not capable of being a special counsel. Number one, a special counsel should be from outside the government, not someone inside the government, because this is a conflict of interest case. Okay, but more importantly is this. David Weiss is the one who put together the plea deal that was rejected by a federal judge. That plea deal was not only a sweetheart deal, it was corrupt. What it did was it gave Hunter Biden legal immunity in perpetuity. That means for the rest of his life, he could never be charged with a crime. Now, the amazing part of it is then Weiss lied. And he said, but the case is still under investigation. Why? Because he didn't want the Republican House to investigate. So then Merrick Garland comes out and he says Tuesday, Weiss said he wants to be a special counsel. Why? Weiss finished his investigation. Weiss said he had all the power that he needed. He told Jim Jordan that in June. So why today does he need a special counsel? Plus, he wanted to bathe him in legal immunity. And it gets even better than this. The fact is that this plea deal not only prevented anyone from going forward, but the same guy who tries to pull the wool over the American people's eyes and the federal judge's eyes, it's a contradiction, because now he is stopping the congressional investigation by saying that this case is still underway, preventing Congress again from interviewing all the players. And let me just say one more thing. This is a good news, bad news cycle. We hear about the money from China, that they never got any money and all that hogwash. And now all of a sudden we've got a special counsel. This special counsel is not in a position to do anything based upon the fact that the most serious crime has passed the statute of limitations. OK, so
which
now
is what?
Which is the 5-year statute of limitation on the tax charges, which was the biggest years, with a $5 million, $5 million, $10 million. OK, so now they can't comment on a pending investigation. Now the statute of limitations has run on the most serious crimes. Now there is no explanation to Joe Biden's immense wealth. The man is in government his whole life. His wife's a school teacher. Give me a break. And Weiss is going to issue a report that says, Joe Biden, I've investigated him, and he's clean. And there's no question right now that Weiss is going to begin this investigation, cover for the Bidens, and say it's all been handled. Now is time for the Republicans to move to impeach Joe Biden.
Jessica, bad day or good day for Hunter Biden?
For Hunter Biden, bad day. It's ongoing, right? The expectation was there was a plea deal. We're going to move forward. Yes, and he should have his day in court and all of that. But I think any day, especially when you think you're heading into the weekend and you find out that you have a special counsel, is probably not a fantastic day. But the good thing, I guess, is it seems like it's going to be a good day for justice and that he's going to be fully investigated. It seems to me that David Weiss wanted this now because he wants to be able to charge him in California and in D.C., which he wouldn't have been able to do as a special prosecutor. But the Republicans, yet again, are being incredibly craven and contradicting themselves. 33 Senate Republicans signed a letter saying we need a special counsel. Half of the GOP conference signed a letter saying we need a special counsel.
But not the same guy.
Yeah. That's the whole point.
It isn't actually the whole point. There would be a problem with anyone except for, I don't know, John Eastman and Rudy Giuliani if they were the special counsel. David Weiss is a Trump-appointed.
David Weiss lied to Jim. Can I finish? He lied to Jim Jordan when he said he had all the power he needed. Because we know from an October 2022 meeting with the FBI, the IRS, and a contemporaneously made business record that he said he wasn't given permission to prosecute in the other jurisdictions.
That came from a whistleblower who was not in the room when that happened. It isn't a lie.
He was in the room.
David Weiss confirmed.
You know what's not a lie?
You know what's not a lie? That you're cutting me off.
Let me say this. You know what's not a lie?
Finish her point first.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's very generous of you. Thank you. David Weiss hasn't lied, and Merrick Garland confirmed it today, saying he had all the powers that he asked for. I would have made him a special counsel, but he did not ask to be. So obviously something changed.
So if he didn't ask, then he wasn't interested in getting justice.
And so, Jessica, I just add this. According to the whistleblower, you may or may not believe, he was told he could not ask for a special prosecutor, that he wanted it, and the whistleblower said that he couldn't do it.
Gary Shapley admitted under oath when he was testifying that he made those requests under the Trump DOJ. Not with what was. Please.
So 2022.
You know what else was admitted to under oath? The prosecution, as well as defense, when the court asked, was there any precedent for this deal? They both told the court there was no precedent for this deal. Democrats cried when Republicans and people that are civil libertarians said, this is not fair. This is simply not fair. When you have Lil Wayne's attorney, Kodak Black, Democrats said, Republicans are just making a big deal about this. The court asked them under oath, and the prosecution said, we have nothing. So that's why the deal was destroyed. So what we can expect is this case to continue to unravel, not because Weiss is some ethical man. It's because Weiss' deal got blown up before the courts. But the Democrats can save themselves here because this is unraveling before the American people. There's one way to do this. Either Joe Biden can resign right now, give Kamala Harris the presidency, and then they can have Gavin Newsom run for office. But the idea that this is over now, this is just beginning now. They could have just conceded. They have talked about unfair justice under the law for years. And all of a sudden, when their guy is elected, and as it starts to unravel, they don't want equal justice under the law. I just think it's shameful.
It's just so shameful that these issues were all in play, but they were ignored in 2020. Just real quick, this news, Joe Biden didn't get close to the press. No shocker. Didn't answer any questions. Didn't hear any questions. Katie.
Well, the appointment of David Weiss as special counsel is a total joke when it comes to credibility of this process. I mean, this is the guy, as the judge laid out, who decided that they were going to do this unprecedented plea deal, whether it was the misdemeanor charges after 5 years of investigation, the lack of FARA charges, or the diversion program for a gun charge, which would be a felony and many years in prison for any regular person, especially if you then threw the illegally possessed gun into a trash can next to a school, as Joe Biden and his girlfriend at the time did. Let's look at how this is going to look moving forward. Hunter Biden, the bad news for him is he's on pretrial release because today the Justice Department said that they cannot come up with an agreement to get him a second plea deal after the first one fell apart. That means he has to be drug tested, he has to get a job, he has to inform the court of when he's going to travel. So they have to get ready for that.
And this is the line, Katie. This one they said case will not resolve short of a trial.
Correct.
So he's going.
So the issue now is the FARA problem, because the reason the plea deal fell apart is because he was getting immunity for the plea deal, and the Biden defense team in court said, no, we need immunity for FARA. They weren't going to get it. So now the Justice Department and the special counsel is in this position where this is what they have to investigate now. And on its face, especially with the documentation this week with James Comer, Oversight Committee Chairman, $20 million in foreign money coming to the Bidens, Hunter Biden being the one facilitating that money. There's a lot of people politically who have gone to prison for FARA violations on a much smaller scale, and there are big questions about whether that's going to happen. And because they couldn't come up with the second plea agreement, including the FARA charges, indicates to me that Hunter Biden is actually kind of worried about that. And for Weiss to get his credibility based on the law, he's going to have to look at that at some point.
Quick answer. We know Comer was going to ask the Bidens to come before him, like Don Jr. was asked to come before him. We know that Weiss was supposed to come before the committee. Does all that stop?
Yes. That's the whole point. That's so how corrupt this is. There is nothing about this that's on the level.
Jordan's going to fight that. So is Comer, according to his people, but we'll see.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.